Good evening, people. This is Football United TV, and welcome to the Gunners All Corners. I'm your host, Anthony Herbert, for tonight. And now it's time for that famous intro. You're enjoying your Friday, and welcome to tonight's show. So tonight's show, we have Rich, and also we have Tony Claude. How we doing, guys? We okay?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah,
Yourself?
fine. Everything is fine. Good evening.
Good.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Brilliant.
Um,
Go on, Tim, you was going to see something? Right. Let's bring up our first topic of the night then.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, God,
Now you've
Steve,
got to
what a
forgive
great-
me because this is I think Matt had his telly turned upside down when he did these these thumbnails. So he's got Man City 1, Arsenal 4. Yes! No, it's not. It's the other way round, folks. Man City beat Arsenal 4-1. And what went wrong? Basically, Rich, on this game, I'm going to come to you first. Man City 4, Arsenal 1. As an Arsenal fan, basically a disappointment. I wasn't happy with this result. I felt Arteta had his tactics wrong, and the players on the pitch they didn't perform. Basically, that's my opinion, and I just feel that I actually said whoever wins this league wins this game is going to go and win the league, and in my opinion, the chances looks like is in Man City's favour because of obviously the games they've got in hand over us.
Yeah.
And it looks like they've got lower down league table games of the league. They've got Fulham and that coming up, which is down towards the bottom. I thought they're going to beat those, obviously win those games. But enough what I'm saying. Rich, let me get your point of view on this game, mate.
Well, my point of view was you could start on the pitch, really. I thought Arsenal was overstretched by Man City. They was outclassed, outbattled. I thought especially around the centre of the midfield with Arsenal and everything, I didn't think they shown up. Thomas Partey got in the game, didn't he, a bit and everything, but he wasn't really in it. I'm not just saying this out, but I think Man City at the moment. I think not just Arsenal. I think the way they're playing, I think they'll beat anybody on the day. Do you know what I mean? I even fancy them for the Champions League final with Real Madrid. But I was a bit shocked with the scoreline. I thought it might have been a bit of a closer game pre-kickoff, but I just think Man City controlled every all over the park. To be honest with you, and, there's teams this season gone there and lost even worse. So bad night for Arsenal. They had to win the game, but they didn't. I wouldn't say it's over yet because you never know in football. There could be a twist anywhere down the line. But I think Arsenal at least needed to come away with a point there, but they never. So move on, and that's it. But totally outclassed all over the park. That's my opinion on the game. I didn't think it was down to the tactics. So you could see he put Xhaka in centre midfield with Partey just try and stop the flow of their midfield. Because what Man City likes to do is get the ball. They like to come through the middle and come out Foden, Grealish, or on the right, and then get that ball in the box for Haaland. And I think he knew that, and he put Xhaka there with Thomas Partey to try and break that down. But they was outclassed.
Yeah, and also with the obviously when you compare the managers, obviously you compare Pep with Arteta.
Yeah.
with the tactics that both managers use for each of their teams, do you feel that in one way they were trying to actually try and produce the same tactics, but obviously with Man City being used to that, obviously it fell in favour of Man City with this game?
I mean, we don't know what goes on, but my opinion would have been, I mean, of Arteta, I think he would have said going away from home, keep it tight. You'd have expected a lot of pressure on Arsenal and then probably trying to get them on the break sort of thing. That's how I think Arteta would try to set the game up by obviously breaking it in midfield with those two and trying to crack them on the break. But they got pace and everything over the team. It's not just on the ball; their off the ball movement is absolutely fantastic as well this season, and hence why probably they got a treble lined up for them and everything like that. So, you know, they take some severe beating this Man City side do. And with this Ireland up front, one more goal from 50.
Mm, mm.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
true. Yeah, yeah. I just appreciated when he scored the goal, but before he scored the goal, he pulled the airband out of his head, didn't he?
He
And
did,
started
didn't
messing with his hair,
Oh,
and
oh
then
my,
you
oh
know
my, oh my God!
he?
he
What
got the
was all that
goal.
about
It
then?
hurt. It
I don't
hurts.
know.
It hurts. It hurts. It just hurts.
Yeah,
It hurts. It hurts.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He's done it to a few teams this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, but in all fairness, before he scored that goal, when he was doing that with his hair, you can tell that was dedication. He washed that hair before the game. You can at least say that, can you? Right, Tony. Tony, can I get your thoughts on this game, mate? I'm going to let you have the floor here. What you've got to say. I know you're not a happy bunny, but listen, look, you tell me, mate.
Um.
What's your opinions?
Uh, I know this is coming as see throughout the season, yeah. Even we've been talking privately most times, and you'll be that voice of reason that will look at me and say, Anthony, this you're overconfident about this might not really go in that way. I understand you, but I'm always this type of person that I always like leading from the front. If my team is going for that title, I believe the fans should be at the forefront, fighting tooth and nail to urge their team on, because the only thing we can be able to have is our fan base to help us push us to this
Yeah,
title. But apparently, maybe I was dreaming or something. I think it takes something more extra to beat this Manchester City team. These are beasts in human form. These are robust, ready to fight to the last. See, throughout that game, yeah, can you see the way KDB took responsibility in that game? Everywhere. It was everywhere,
Yeah.
causing havoc and causing damage everywhere. At the time, you don't even know if he was being used as a striker, as a false striker, or even as a midfielder. It was just everywhere. And it just shows, yeah, that the resources that Manchester City is fighting with this season, even in previous seasons, yeah, it's completely absolute blows whatever Arsenal have in their arsenal. It just shows. Nathan Ake did not play in that match, but look at the replacements down there. They slot in deep. You don't even know if Nathan Ake is there or not. They have a wealth of resources to tap in from. So even if there's one or two players that might not even be on a good day on the day, man, they're firing on all cylinders. How in God's name did we allow KDB roam that midfield, gazump our midfield, destroy our defenders like that from the midfield? It's an atrocious way to play. And you are making an analogy, kind of like comparing Ateta to Pep. Anthony, these two shouldn't be mentioned in the same breath. It was there. The proof was in the pudding. It's there. One is a teacher, one is a student.
yeah,
It's clear to see. One is a teacher, one is a student. He couldn't even make tactical changes. See, when you're going for a title, you're going to the Etihad, you're losing 2-0 in the first half, and you go into halftime, and you're playing against a supreme coach, a high coach like Pep Guardiola, and you're not ringing in the changes in the second half. It tells me something. Yeah. See, Anthony, throughout the season, I've stood for Mikel Arteta this season. So when I give him a little bit of stick right now, I think you won't take it the other way around. His inexperience really showed on Wednesday. He's clearly inexperienced to handle this football club. I wouldn't just call for his head yet. But if it's being replaced, I will take it. Because right on my show, I've been saying it all season. If he doesn't win this league, or if he doesn't get the Champions League or win the Europa League, I think he should respectfully go. I wouldn't call for his head right now. But
No.
if there's a change, I will accept it. Because
Yeah.
this season has been an utter failure to me. Champions
It
League or not.
it has, yeah, because it feels like to me, saying, to be honest with you, is we sacrifice Arteta sacrificed every cup game to win this Premier League,
To win
you
the
know,
league.
to win the league. And to be honest with you, it's not happening. And I don't know whether it's coming up to the like obviously towards the end of the season and our players feel that pressure that's on them now.
Yeah.
I don't feel that they can't cope with pressure. A lot of pressure our players at the minute. They can't because they know that what was expected of them in this game, which obviously we did expect more. Come on, let's be honest. Obviously with this scoreline, if you're gonna, I always said if you're gonna lose, go down fighting, not not
Exactly.
not a scoreline like
Exactly.
this.
Not like that. But again, we could look at it in the reverse way. Is it that Arsenal doesn't just have the resources to cope with a team like Manchester City? That's another way
Yeah,
to look at it. These guys have two, three players that they could call up on every area in that field. Arsenal can't even replace William Saliba.
no,
It's a joke. And Rob Holding, who I've told you about, that I don't want to see that guy in this football club, gets a starting berth again. And this is what we get. So we can also look at it from that standpoint that, see, maybe we were overhyping this Arsenal team in the first place. I don't think they can go toe to toe with Manchester City, and that's what they've shown because we don't have the resources to cope with them.
yeah.
It's a big
Do you
force,
do you
Anthony.
think
Big
that?
force.
Do you think if we played Fiorentina, things may have been different? Because the only reason I say this, Tone, is because when we played like Shevchenko at left back, he likes to drift up in midfield, right? Then that pulls Gabriel and Holding out towards the left, and that brings either Saka or Partey coming back to defend. You know what I'm saying? So all three different areas are being affected. Now with
Yeah.
Fiorentina, he's your normal left back, strong player, likes to run down the flanks and cross the balls in the box. Now, I feel if Fiorentina was playing, I feel we would have been slightly different because we look at that Kevin De Bruyne's goal. That's what happened. Sachinko drift off into the midfield, which broke the defence. The centre backs go over to the left, and Partey came back. But as soon as Kevin De Bruyne hit that ball, as soon as that ball left his foot, you knew it was going in the back of the net. Even I knew that by watching the game. And
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is the problem I've got. Do you think that obviously what's your opinions, your views on playing Shevchenko, so obviously playing Fiorentina? Do you reckon we would have been better playing Fiorentina against Man City?
Anthony, the thing, even if we did employ Kylian Tierney into that position, we would still be in this mess that we're in. I'm sorry, yeah. Mikel Arteta wants to play an inverted role with a player who's not in that vein. I would have even respected him if he even drifted Zichenko into the midfield, which is a natural position for him, and bringing Kyrian Tierney to play that left back position. Zichenko plays as a midfielder in that Ukrainian team. So that would have been the necessary tactical change that would have been better for that game. But as we all know, Mikel Arteta trusts Zichenko so much that he wants him to play in that inverted position, and he leaves a shot down there in the defense. Zichenko can't stay in that position for a good 5 minutes without drifting. I said it in the watch along I did the other day.
Mm.
Can't stay 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. See, remove, scratch 5 minutes. He can stay there 3 minutes. Just stay there and help the team. No, he can't do it. It's not in his person. He's a very mobile person. And mind you, when he was this mobile person, he was playing for a certain team called Manchester City that have the old resources and everyone playing at their required position. And they're good at it. Now you're at Arsenal, that not everyone plays in, at such pace or with such discipline. So it's quite different. You can't get the same thing you were getting in Manchester City and get it down there at Arsenal. That's a big problem. And if Mikel Arteta keeps insisting on Zichenko going on that in inverted style, it's going to cost us. So we do need a new left back. I'm sorry, in the summer. We do need one. If not, we'll get
Yeah,
ripped apart. Because Kyrian Tierney might be going to Newcastle. He's not going to play second fiddle to Zichenko, who is clearly having problems right now. So I think a new left back will have to be employed in the summer.
yeah, I think so, and I think with I think Newcastle are after Kieran Tierney as well, aren't they, next season? And then it all depends on next season as well. There's talks that people want to replace Tommy Yasu at right back. There's talks that Rob Holding might be leaving, and also one other thing I read today um, is Smith Rowe. Apparently, he wants to leave Arsenal and he wants to go back and play under Unai Emery at Aston Villa. So it's all depending on what it is this season. Rich, let me get your thoughts on any of that. With you know Smith Rowe wanted to go and play under Unai Emery again at Aston Villa. What's your thoughts on that one, mate?
Well, I think what I've seen of Arsenal Smith Rowe, I think he's a very good player. And he's not going to, like you say, he ain't going to sit around and play second fiddle. There's going to be a couple of people like that at Arsenal, to be honest with you. But I think going back to what, I've forgotten his name. What's your name again? Sorry?
Tooney.
Tony. Going back to what you said, is what about the strength and depth. Like when you look at Man City with Arsenal, I think missing out the player he became from Man United when Arsenal went and finished Martinez beginning of the season. I think he'd have been a perfect centre back for you. I think that's where you're missing as well as a good solid centre back. And you should have a replacement, really, if like you said with Saliba injured, whatever his name is, you should have people to come in, step up to that sort of to play that role. But Rob Holding, I mean, he's been around there for quite a while, haven't he? And I've seen no improvement from him every time I watches him.
No, it's true. I don't think he is, and obviously we're
No,
missing Saliba because Saliba is actually the spine that's missing out of our defence. And when you're
yeah,
replacing him with Rob Holding, is that
yeah.
despite Rob Holding got our goal, but Matt's in the show. Matt,
Welcome, everybody. Hello. How's everyone doing?
Hey,
Well,
man. Yeah,
not
how
too
you
bad.
doing? Nice to see you again, man.
Yeah, you too, guys. I was just interested to come in. I thought, sorry, I'll just come in. It's a good chat, guys. So I mean, you've just said it all pretty much about what happened. And I know we got a neutral in here as well. Big up to you, Rich. Yeah, where do Arsenal go from here? Like,
See, yeah, where do Arsenal go from here? It's quite clear. Finish strong. That's the first thing we have to do. Finish strong. Make sure we're finishing that second route. Mathematically, there's still a chance for us to win the title, but for me, it's gone already. I don't want to be living a fool's dream on a fool's land. So the title is off. Yeah, let's scratch that off. So what we have to do, try finish strong, go into Newcastle, show more fight, show faith in your team, and more pressure. Make sure we finish at least second. Uh, Grab that Champions League spot, yeah, in which we've already done. Go into that summer market. Make sure we close in on Caicedo. Very important. I just heard this morning that actually Caicedo actually agreed to move to Arsenal as far back as January. So I want to see that deal done. I also see now that we're also in the Champions League, definitely we should be pushing for a more bigger squad. Yeah. So I want to see someone like Declan Rice come in from West Ham, make that midfield a more solid one. We've seen Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey is not a young guy, yeah. He has his, he's got his playing days down there at Atletico during his more younger time. So right now he's getting older. It showed at the 80th that he can cope with that pace when he comes legitimately with legitimate killers, in that midfield. He showed it on Wednesday. So what does that tell you? Arsenal needs a new looking midfield to cope with the pressures of the league, because next season we have to be, put more pressure to what we've done now. So that's just the way forward. Bring in a prolific striker, a more prolific striker, someone in the vein of Vlahovic. Should be nice, or a Martinez from Inter Milan, that should be okay. We also need a backup goalkeeper, to tune up just a little bit, to tune up Ramsdale, because I feel he's very complacent in some of his performances, and it's getting to his head a little bit. We need someone who would,
He
push him
was
up
so
a
good
notch.
in the City game, wasn't he? Though Tony, he stopped Haaland for a very long time. It
Yeah,
was he's probably the best goalkeeper against Haaland. I'm pretty sure Haaland would say, "I thought I was not going to score tonight," and then it finally came, like, for him. So I give him credit for that. What I think about that, I don't know whether like Anthony and Rich agrees and Tony agrees with me. Is you're talking about like getting better players for next season to be able to cope with the pressure. But then you look at maybe Man City and the way that they're going. Are they not just going to elevate even more and recruit more? And then what is the step? Are we just stepping up to be the same next season, or have we really got to push to get to where Man City are? Because to me, it just kind of feels like winning almost with this year 5 leagues out of 6 kind of feels like it's a dominant league of one team at the moment. And this is kind of like
mm,
why other leagues around Europe have fell off, because like Bundesliga and like Juventus always won Serie A, and Barcelona, Real Madrid, the whole double act there. And it just feels like it's going that way. Do you think that the backing of Stan Kroenke, etc., is going to be able to continue what the owners of Man City are doing? Because obviously they can just continue, but how far can Arsenal continue? That's what I say, because it's always going to be that financial battle as well as on the field, like you said, Tony, which is very well put. Like Man, you go, oh, if we just get another player, we'll be ready. But Man City are thinking, well, we've got all that. So if we just get another 4 or 5 great players, like a Haaland of defence, a Haaland of midfield, then what you saying? Like we beat you chess and checkers kind of thing.
Well, I think Arteta has roughly been back this season. The only reason being is because we have spent this season around about 170 million, and for a team that finished fifth last season, that's not bad. But going into next season, we have to compete with Man City. There's no question about it. Whether we win the league or we finish second, we'll have more money injected into the club for next season to spend on obviously top players. But people always go on about Caicedo from Brighton and Declan Rice from West Ham. Listen, this is Arsenal Football Club. You're only going to get one or the other. You're not going to get two. You're only going to get one or the other. Um, if it was me, there's certain areas that I feel that we need to address next season. I think centre back is one of them. With Rob Holding, because if Saliba or Gabriel's out, we've got nothing there at centre back. Tommy Yasu at right back, because Ben White he is doing a good job there at right back at the minute. Ben White, and I think obviously that's the three main keys is the right back, the centre back, and the DM. We need to toughen up more at the back. It's like what I said with Tony Vishchenko, with my opinion, when he plays left back. I don't know if you've seen this, Matt, but he sort of drifts into midfield, which then obviously causes our centre backs to move out to the left to cover his position, which
Yeah.
means Thomas Partey comes down to defend. It it doesn't work. I know Man City roughly plays that style, but look look at the quality of what Man City's got compared to the quality of what Arsenal's got at the end
Bye
of the
bye.
day. We can't compete with that at the minute. So, I mean, it's like what I said, whether we win the league or we don't, but we know we should have money and certain amount of funds for next season for qualifying for the Champions League. It's exactly the self same thing as yourself at Newcastle, because that's going to be the top four this season.
But you don't
They've
think
got
you don't think that the owners are going to think, right, we've made top four now for after a fair few seasons. We've got second in the league. We don't have to spend out too much money. This team is able to do something next season without. I know. I'm just putting it out there. I'm throwing the spanner in the works. It's not
And
what I believe, not what I feel. But I'm asking you guys.
yeah, yeah,
you answer.
Rich, I would like to go. I would like you to go on that one, or before me, or do you want to go on that one, Rick?
Well, I think personally this season, I mean, starting last season, Arsenal brought some good youth policy through, like Smith Rowe and Saka and those sort of players like that. So, perhaps there's an option there, like, to blood some youth in and get some good players like the youth as well. But you only get good players when they're mixed with good players. But yeah, I agree with like what you both said. Everything. I do think Arsenal's a little bit short around the park. I think you said you need another centre back, something up top as well, and everything. Like Jesus was injured for 3 months after the World Cup, and then that Eddie, is it Nketiah, got injured. Never really had nothing cut top and everything like that. So yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, I mean, for Arsenal this season, I think is a successful season, but it's a bit of a gutting season, knowing they've been top of the league for such a long time, since November, I think, and they've clattered at the end due to like sort of player not having a squad like Man City got. I mean, look at Kelvin Phillips. He's gone there to Man City, for example, and he's sat on the bench. He don't even start a game, do he? And they could bring him on. They could bring Phil Foden on for Grealish. It's a they're going to take, like I said, no matter what any Man United do next in the summer transfer window. Arsenal, Man City, I think they're well established. They're 4 or 5 years in front of everybody else at the moment. Totally. I mean, everyone else has had good. Newcastle's had a phenomenal season. United could get back in the Champions League. Arsenal and everything, good season, but yeah, they're miles in front. They're miles in front. The league table don't lie.
Yeah,
It's like
that's
having
true.
a gun to a sword, isn't it? It's one of those, like,
Yeah, yeah, that's
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. See, Matt, with what you said, see, it's not far from the truth with what you said. That's why I was even laughing in the first place. What you just said, it's not far from the truth. Arsenal Football Club can literally say that. They could say, you know what, we've qualified. We have what we want. Come on, man. This team can compete, and they won't invest into the club. So, why I was smiling is that there's a possibility that that could happen. It's a big possibility. We've seen that. Anthony will tell you that it could happen because he, as an Arsenal fan, he knows the struggles that we've been having with telling this football club to invest in the football club. So what they need to do is simple. It's simple. We already have the basics. Get in. The first thing should be contract. See, Anthony, don't you think it's a bit of a scare that Bukayo Saka hasn't signed a deal yet, and it's 1 year to the end of his contract, and we've not talked about that. That's not even on the agenda right now. It's a big problem. We need to make sure that all these contracts are being signed. Let's get at least the basics first. Get Bukayo signed to a contract. Get William Saliba signed to a contract. Tell Thomas Partey, hey, you have to tune up. You have to tune up. Go at the back and go. Get a Caicedo. Come in there. Get another centre back. We're going to the Champions League. I'm tired. See, there's one thing going to the Champions League And there's another thing: going to the Champions League to get battered by all these teams like PSG, to go to somewhere like Bayern Munich and Arsenal, go there and get battered 9-1, disgracefully. I will not take that. I went to Bayern Munich that day when we were battered, absolutely battered in Germany. I don't want to face that again as an Arsenal fan. I don't want to ever see that. In that vein, we need to make sure we are getting at least a bigger squad to be able to at least fight off what's going on in the Champions League. We need at least double bigger players that can perform, double for each position. New left back, new right back. We need all these players down there at Arsenal. Since it's a Champions League fight, we'll be fighting in, and we need squad in depth. But most of all, that defensive centre back. We need a replacement as soon as
Aaron,
possible. And,
Aaron
as soon as
McGuire going cheap.
we need that. No, 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 no,
You know where you can skip in, Rich. Yeah, I
no.
know. I know what you're saying, Tone.
Please, no.
It makes you think. Obviously, the Champions League football, and he's got to spend money. I think we're 4 or 5 players short. Let's say at least 4 or 5 players short, because you look at the players what we've got in our team at the minute and the standard of what they're playing. In all fairness, they should have gone further in that Europa League. They didn't. So it proves to the standard of where we're at the minute in Europe.
Yeah.
Not the league, just Europe. So we need to strengthen up. You're 100% right. Strengthen up for next season for the Champions League. Because if he doesn't strengthen up this team for next season, we ain't getting out that group stage. That's a
True.
fact. We're not.
True.
And Arteta knows that himself. And so should Edu. So obviously Edu needs to go to Kroenke and say, well, look, me and Arteta's come up with a list of players. This is how much I think is going to cost. And you give us this money. They've got to. They've got
True.
to.
But
And if
Anthony,
he
when
doesn't,
you say 4 players, I'm sorry, it's not 4 players. Arsenal is 10 players. And mind you, when the players that will go off the season go away, we'll be needing up to 7 signings to be able to compete in the Champions League. ESR is leaving, Kylian Tierney is leaving, El Neni might be leaving.
yeah,
He had just one year contract, right? Good and okay. Balogun is leaving. We need someone to come in, and he's still our player, right? We need someone to come in. There's this player who might be leaving too. Aitley, like Niles, might be leaving also. All these players are going to be bundled out of the football club, and where are the replacements? So, if we're to have additional players, we have to also replace the ones that are also out of contract that are leaving the football club. So, in essence, you'll be seeing that we need up to at least 6, 7 players to come into the football club to be able to compete competitively in the Champions League.
but then there's the players we bought this season as well. I mean, look at the one we spent 35 million on. Pablo Vieira. I mean, what's he done? That's 35 million spent. That's 35 million down the drain. But in all fairness, I don't know. I'm not necessarily blaming Pablo Vieira. I just don't think Arteta has given him a chance. I mean, we all know what he was like when he scored that brilliant goal in the league against Brentford when we beat them. And basically, that was we can only judge him on that goal to compare to the price of his valuation that we bought for him. That's it. So what Arteta's got in store for him next season is God knows. It's like what you said. Smith Rowe will be gone next season. He wants to go to Aston Villa and play under Unai Emery again. Kieran
Exactly.
Tierney, he might be going to Newcastle. So there's all these good players that we've got and we've produced they're on about leaving
They're
because
they're
they
all
don't fit
going.
under a
They're all
certain
going.
Arteta's plans.
They're all going, and we're also forgetting that Aston Villa have a huge financial backing coming up next season. Yeah, they're owned by new owners. Big money is going to be pumped into Aston Villa. These guys could be genuine title challengers next season. Yeah, Newcastle, big money. See, they've not even spent, and look at where Eddie Howe has taken that team to. Just look at those guys have not even spent. close to 200 yet, and look at where they are. They have big financial muscle. Next season, it won't be like that. They literally can bring Nima to the
And
football club.
what tops
Just
it up?
think about that.
We got Newcastle coming up after.
You mean to Man United, right? Surely. Neymar's coming United. That Qatari link's got to be happening, and the bids.
Oh my God! Oh, this Man
They're
United.
dreaming.
Not
They're
again.
dreaming.
Not
They're
I
dreaming.
again.
don't want to see Neymar
Anthony, not again.
or Arsenal. Yeah.
You could tell that's why Matt come on the show. I'm coming on for my Rick. I'm coming on for him.
Exactly.
No, as a Man United fan, I applaud what Arsenal have done this season. So I know a lot of out there are Arsenal fans who look at it and say, "Is it a flop? Is it a disgrace? Have we not succeeded?" Of course, you succeeded, because I think I heard someone say today exactly like, in your job, you don't always, every time you do a good job, get a promotion, do you?
No, you don't.
No.
So, and you're still doing good at your job. So
Yeah.
I think that Arsenal have done well at their job. They've gone higher than they were last season. You're, like we said, you're battling a sword. You're battling a gun with a sword, and you've been able to stay at the top of the table without the funds that Man City have had. And by the way, with the financial fair play, etc., they might have to face in later years, you might actually see this be your league anyway. So you might win it like on merit eventually. So, but at the same time, look, I don't think Arsenal should be ashamed of what they're doing. I think they're giving it a really good title race this season. It still is right now. Mathematically, it is. And I definitely think there's still something could happen. Man City could definitely drop a few points. They lost to Brentford at home this season. Who else did they lose to this season? They've lost a few times. So
Man United.
yes, Man United away. Yeah, I don't know if they lost only to Brentford, I think, at home this season, which is quite remarkable.
Crystal Palace, I think, beat them at home, didn't they?
Ooh, yes,
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you remember correctly, which was a shock as well, in the last minute of the game, they drew 1-1 with Nottingham Forest. Dave Wood's got the goal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Never know.
See, guys, I don't want us to be deluded, yeah? Let's not be deluded in this, yeah? Man City's not dropping any points. You know, they do this. No. Let's be yeah, they do.
I didn't think they were
It's
going to
at
drop.
the moment Man City live for. This is it. They live for this moment. They do this. This is
Tony,
what they do.
I
And
never
this is
thought
what
they were going to
people
lose the semi-final against Madrid, but there you go. I never thought they were going to lose the final against Chelsea, but there you go.
Yeah, no, but this is the Premiership. They own it. See, Pep does this. Anthony will tell you I'm one of the most positive Arsenal fans out there, even one of the most deluded ones, actually, thinking that we'll win the title this season because, see, you just need to be in the shoes of Liverpool to feel, what they've been feeling all the seasons. They've been going back and forth with Man City. It's only good that Arsenal fans feel this feeling of a drop off, this feeling of bottle jobs. It's good we have that feeling because no one would know what Liverpool went through. This is what they went through. Manchester City, they do this. So let's forget about this thing mathematically. No. They've won the league as it is. They will not drop any points. I think on Sunday they'll be playing Fulham. They will massacre them. These are the moments.
I tell you what, Tony, if that does happen, anything does change in that, and you have to come on and explain yourself that Arsenal win the league, can you please come on? When Arsenal win the league,
sure. But I will tell you, I've been the most positive person about Arsenal season, but trying to lead from the front because I always believe in one thing: when you're leading, you always try to lead from the front, not from the back as a fan. And I've done that this season. But it's not just enough, man. This guy's superior resources, superior foot soldiers ready to die for that football club. And I wish I had listened to people like Manny at the start of this season.
I mean, why would you even?
Touchy-feely about Arsenal. He was one of the voices. It was one of the biggest voice of reasoning for me. But I failed to, take that advice. But sometimes you just have to hit an humble pie to be able to come back down to earth and understand what really goes on.
No, but Tony, listen. First of all, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Anthony. I do apologize for
You Manny.
being late. Regardless of
No,
what
That's on
people
me.
will say, lateness is not greatness, but things have been a bit crazy. And let me say this. I think I might have said this to you earlier, Tony, but you actually can teach a lot to people like me in a way to sort of try and be a little bit more optimistic. I mean, I do take the point you're making when you said that maybe some of the things you said were a little bit in retrospect outlandish, but still, we needed someone to be able to say the things that had to be said. Somebody had to be there to try to provide some confidence. I'm sort of reminded of an old film where they say that if you lie to people enough that everything will be okay, at least it gives them the strength in their heart to believe that things can be better. I don't know if that would necessarily provide too much in terms of comfort in the scheme of things, but you know, sometimes in a season like this, when things are going a little bit well, you do have a choice of being able to, enjoy it and not be such a curmudgeon about it. But I would probably say that the reason why I would be a little bit more apprehensive is because we have memories of seasons gone by with even better teams, and it just we just felt a little bit apprehensive. We saw some of the performances start to crack a little bit, and that's sort of the way it worked. And you can't beat yourself up or blame yourself for thinking that things would. I mean, not for not seeing that things would go that way. I mean, it was something that many of us in our hearts wanted to believe would happen, but in the end, we had to accept reality. But as you say, we go again, and we can hopefully only be better for the experience. I think a lot more of us will probably be a little bit more pessimistic this time around, given the antics of the board. But again, without hope, you don't really have very much. So I guess that's my 2 cents on it. And please don't, be too hard on yourself. Okay.
Okay. I tell you what. Let's go on
Thanks,
to
Manny. I
the
think I really needed that pep talk from you, man. Big ups.
yeah. I tell you what. Let's go on to the second topic now, because time's rolling on, and me and Matt's got pieces to go and people to see. Um,
yeah.
well, if Arsenal finishes second, is it a success or is it a failure? Basically, what I'm going to do, I'll come to you with this one on Manny, 'cause you've just joined us. What's your thoughts on this one, mate?
Well, I would probably have to say that at the end of the day, it would be a failure in some respects, because we take a look at the Leicester City team, which, uh, you know, before 2016 survived relegation, maybe not by the skin of their teeth, but they did survive relegation. When they started doing as well as they did, they certainly never had any expectations that they would even go as far as they did. But the more they played and the better they got, the more even they started to realize, you know what, we really need to try to make something out of it. But we're not going to, you know, they handled it a lot better than we did. They approached it better than we did. They never entertained talk of winning the title until they got close enough to taste it, and until they had passed all their major tests with flying colors. Ironically, that was the season where we did the double against them, but we still finished second because we simply flattered to deceive in a lot of the other games. I think given their history and the fact that they had a few relegations from the Premier League, they could regard it as a success. But in our case, we've never been relegated from the top division. We've certainly never been relegated from the Premier League. We've won Premier League titles before, and in fact, we still cling to the Invincibles title. as if it's the greatest achievement in footballing history. It is a fine achievement, but you know that season we could have actually emulated Manchester United by potentially winning a treble of our own. I think we reached the semi-finals of the FA Cup and the quarter-finals of the Champions League. We lost to Manchester United
Yeah.
and Chelsea in those matches respectively. So it's relative, Anthony, to answer your question. And
Yeah.
I think when you take a look at our history and what our fans have wanted, and this idea that it was the right decision to get rid of Unai Emery and hire Mikel Arteta, and how he was the type of person who would change the culture for the better and really lead the team to success. You know what? I think we have to look inside ourselves and say, given what he especially promised about earning success, it has to be viewed as a failure.
Yeah.
That's speaking in relative terms, because we know, given our history and given our pedigree, that we are capable of better. And certainly the way we started the season, why would you start the season doing so well and not think in the back of your mind, we need to keep the momentum going? Let's try and do as well as we can and make sure we continue to aim for nothing but the league. And to have blown two 8-point leads at different stages of the season, I don't think there's any other team in footballing history, never mind Premiership history, that has bottled two big leads in one season and not gone on to win the title. And that is something of concern. And I do take the point that people that we're going to say, well, we're a young team and we deserve credit for, running City so close in the end. But that doesn't cut the mustard with me, because we were leading them twice. And we know that we let it slip. And we also know that when we were leading, there was so much buff and bluster from so many fans saying, we've got the youngest squad in the league. We've got the best manager in the league who knows exactly what we need. He's taking us to bigger heights and nobody can compare to us. Even City can't compare to us. And I'll tell you what, it's the behavior of some of those fans that makes other teams really feel satisfied whenever they beat us, whenever they've beaten us this season, especially.
Yeah.
I think we also have to take a look at the way, as I said, we've handled ourselves. Whenever we've played as well, instead of being humble in certain games by saying, "Look, we might have earned the result we wanted, but we certainly didn't play well enough to win," and we have to be honest with ourselves. We crow about the nature of those wins, calling it stuff of champions. And true champions have to be honest with themselves and introspective with themselves and say, we shouldn't be 2-0 down to Bournemouth after half an hour and end up crowing about, scoring 3 to win that. And there's a proverb which I'm going to say right now. I've heard it used by someone before in a different with different terminology, but I will say this. You can't serve people rubbish and call that a roast dinner. And several fans are going to be really cognizant of the fact that you can't keep playing poorly and winning and call that the stuff of champions. I think this season has been a failure in many respects, and we are going to have to be a little bit introspective about that. But sometimes when you're down, the only way you can go is up. Matt, you raised your finger. Did you want to say something, mate? You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry because I just didn't want to interrupt your beautiful segment there. It was very knowledgeable. But
that's why I always invite Manny into the show.
Manny's
Beautiful
cool.
statement.
Manny.
Beautiful statement.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Sometimes it does happen when you do go down in games. I know Man United have done it through the history of me watching them. They were 3-0 down. I think Rich will remember this one against Spurs.
5-3.
Yeah, and we won that game in the second half.
5-3,
like this is it. Like we were crap. We should never have won that game, and we got back into it. Arsenal done that loads of times this season. They could have even done it the other night. It was very close. You were 3-1 down to Southampton, and they were at the bottom of the league, and because they're fighting for everything. Well, I think it's really tough it's more tougher than it ever has been for teams to be able to play teams from the bottom and actually get really good results, because at the end of the day, they're not just fighting just for the team and the fans, they're fighting for their financial state as well. It means a lot on these teams, so there's a lot more in for it. I agree with what you were saying though, Manny, completely. But I think because these are new heads on the players of Arsenal, this is a new team under Arteta, that they can learn from this. I think next season will show whether they can actually really compete, because no one expected this season from Arsenal. No one expected this from Newcastle. No one expected this from Manchester United to get to be where they are. No one expected Spurs, but we kind of did, though, didn't we? Really, just be honest. We knew they were going to flop at the end. They do every season, Manny. Arsenal don't. That's the thing. You've done a lot more than what they've done in the progression in a year and a half, and what they've tried to do in 4 years. But I do agree with pretty much everything else you said. It is a worry for Arsenal, and I don't know what everybody else thinks.
Yeah, and I'm just going to sort of have a bit of a postscript, add a postscript to that, because what you said, Matt, is wonderful, and I think you sort of reflect the views of a lot of people when you say that next year this team is going to start cooking and winning, but that sadly might not be guaranteed. Because with a Tottenham connection, and I know this is probably something that will either irritate or make a lot of you happy, the Spurs team in the 86-87 season that was managed by a certain David Pleat, they actually produced some terrific football during that season. And they finished as the nearly men in 3 competitions. If memory serves me right, they were third in the then first division behind Everton and Liverpool. Everton won that, I believe. They lost to us in the semi-finals of the League Cup, which we went on to win. And perhaps tragically for them, they lost the final of the FA Cup to Coventry City with Gary Mabbutt scoring an own goal. And that particular team had talent all the way through. They had Liverpool and England legend Ray Clemence in goal, the likes of Richard Gough and Gary Mabbutt in defence, Chris Hoddle and Glenn Hoddle, running the midfield along with Ozzy Ardiles. Clive Allen scored 49 goals that season in those 3 competitions alone, because, of course, at that time, we couldn't play in Europe.
Yeah.
And despite coming so close and yet so far, it was predicted that, I take the point that there was a lot more experience in the team, but there were some youngsters like David Howells and Vinnie Samways coming through. But, it was predicted that if they carried on where they left off, they would end up, winning a lot of things. And Spurs at that time in the 80s were always a team that would do quite well domestically. And until the Heysel ban, they also did quite well in Europe. I believe they won the UEFA Cup in the 80s, if I'm not wrong. I'm not too sure. 1984, I think, was when they won it. But after that season, the first time they won silverware was the 1991 FA Cup final. And only Gary Mabbutt and Paul Allen from that 1987 team were there in the 1991 team, with the others either having left the club or retired, and David Pleat was no longer manager. So we can't take things for granted that we're going to continue to do as well as we have, and we're going to continue to win. Because bear in mind that because of the season, the unique nature of the season, with the World Cup having been a spanner in the works, other teams have literally, had shoddy seasons, with many of their internationals being, shall we say, preoccupied with keeping themselves fit to play for their country. And the teams that flatter to deceive this season will almost certainly not be flattering to deceive next season, because they are going to strengthen, they're going to lick their wounds and come back even stronger. We also have to do the same thing. And there's also no guarantee that we'll be quite as prepared as those other teams. So all I'm saying is that it's fine to have confidence and maybe a little bit of bravado. But when confidence turns to a type of arrogance, that is when you can be expected to be taken down a peg, and that's what's happened to us this season. So that's also something that we have to learn. Never count your chickens before they've hatched.
Oh God, that's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good
I remember that, Manny. That was what was it? That was the Tottenham in Forest FA Cup final. wasn't it? This
Yep.
in '91, you said, yeah. So
Yeah.
that was that
And
one. They knocked us out in the semi-finals because Paul Gascoigne scored that free kick against us in the
yep.
semi-final, so against
Yep.
Siemens. So yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
But it's like what you said, Manny. On this one now, on this topic we're talking about, to me, it looks like it would be a failure if we didn't win the league. For how long we was dominating the league and how long we was top. Um,
Yes.
if we finish second, I feel to myself, if we finish second and we finish 3 points, let's say a win behind Man City, I know that it'd be a bit of a downer, but I feel that we were the only team this season, looking at it in a different view, a different perspective, we were the only team that could compete with Man City this season. And that is one way of looking at it. I know it don't seem a lot, but at least we could take we could take a positive out of a negative. But that's the only positive that we can take out of it for this season, and that's it. So
Um, Anthony, let's also not forget that in 2016 we were the only team to beat Leicester home and away, and we still didn't win the title. So you can
exactly,
take whatever positives you want, but I think sometimes you have to look at the black and white of everything
yeah,
and say, um, given the way we started and the way we continued, we floundered near the end when we were not expected to do so, and that is something that we have to rectify. It reminded a lot of people of the dark days of Wenger, 2007, 2008. We were coasting at the turn of the year, but then ended up completely floundering after that
yeah,
horrific Eduardo injury. And then the sight of William Gallas sulking on that field that day is something none of us can ever forget.
no.
Yeah,
Rich, can I get your opinion on this one? If Arsenal finishes second, do you think is a
I
success
mean,
or a failure?
I honestly don't support the club you three lads do, like, but I'll ask a question. Before a ball was kicked, would you any of you three took second place?
At that time, if you're asking me, I most probably
question.
would have, yes, before a ball was kicked, yeah, because like you're going back to the first game of the season, yeah, I would have took second place, but the way it is now and how we've dominated the Premier League, and all right, you're still top of the Premier League, but the way how things are looking at the minute, it does look more of a failure than a
I mean,
success.
I get what they're saying. I'm 50-50 with the Arsenal because, to finish second, I mean, from what Arteta does since he come in, he built the team up a bit and everything. And to get second this year has been a good achievement. I mean, mathematically, they still win the league. We never know in football. Anything can happen. We've experienced that over the years. But I think if they finish the second, I personally think it's a great achievement. But I think with Arsenal fans, they was expecting that little bit more being top of the league and rightly so from November. So to me, it's a little bit of mixed emotions. I think it's been a successful season, but a disappointing season, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And Tim, can I get
Mm.
your view on this one, mate?
Yeah, see, it's pretty simple. I listened to what Manny said. Yeah. See, it's very simple. When you're looking at the season, yeah, you're not just looking at the Premiership itself. You're also looking at several other competitions that make up a season. So we're not just looking at the Premiership title, for instance. We're looking at the FA Cup. We're looking at the Europa League. What was our performances, and how would you rate, our performances down there? Are you proud of the performances in those cup competitions? And the answer is no. So we failed in external cup competitions, outside the Premiership. This season, I've always been consistent when I was saying it on my channel that Arsenal needs to win the title this season. We
Yeah,
need to win it to be able to have any kind of like pride in terms of talking outside or speaking to other rival fans. We needed this title, and the truth is, it's hard for me to conceive this, but we've bottled it, And see, when you look at last season, yeah, you saw what happened last 10 games of the season, and then we bottled that Champions League position that we were to get, over Tottenham Hotspur. Now, if you think in terms of, uh, you know, successes or whatever, what happened at that time, and bring it on to this season. Yeah, good. Mikel Arteta renewed a passion to win the league this season. Good and okay. We never thought that we'll even smell second this season. But again, we were always leading the lot this season. What was our
Yeah.
performance? How did we perform? So at the end of the day, I feel weak. I feel tired. I'm not having it at all. This season is not a success in any way. I'm sorry to say. But there was also something. I agree totally with what Manny said. But there was also something Manny also said too that maybe I might slightly not agree with that was where he was talking about, when a team wins or something like that. Maybe you're 2 goals down to Brentford and you come back, into the game and win the game. Of course, this is the Premiership, Manny. So, why even allowed a little bit of luck? Sometimes you don't just, and of course, history of this league positioning and league wins. There should be an element of luck down there. Yeah, it might be a bigger story to call it a thing of champions, but champions do need luck once, twice, 3 times in a season to be able
Yeah.
to pick up results anyway. So you're in the best position to know that because you do know history of these games and you know that there's elements of luck here and there when it comes to teams when they play and how they win titles in the Premiership.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. We're just going to go on to our last topic now. It's Arsenal versus Chelsea, and basically who wins. Rich, as a neutral, I'm going to start on you, mate. Who do you think's going to win this game? And can I get your score prediction in this game as well?
I think I'm going to go with Chelsea on this one. I'm gonna put Felix scoring a hat trick because your defense is a bunch of pussies.
All right,
um,
then. Thank you.
no, I fancy Arsenal to bounce back on this one. Where is Arsenal home or are they away?
It's home, is it? Is it the
Also, his home.
Emirates?
We're
It's
Oh,
home.
yeah,
sorry, yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, I fancy Arsenal to win comfortably with this one. I'll put Chelsea in front goal, but I'll reverse the scoreline what Man City beat you 4-1 Arsenal. Chelsea at the moment, they're going through a transform period. Same as like Liverpool with a cut of new players in. They've had an awful season. So yeah, I fancy Arsenal to bounce back for this one. 4-1.
Okay. And Tony, can I get your score prediction? And who do you think's going to win as well?
Oh, I asking me?
Yeah.
yeah, Tony.
Okay, okay.
Tony's going
See,
Chelsea.
Anthony, I think we have to be very, very careful with this one. Uh, you
Yeah.
know, uh, see, I don't know if Arsenal can come back from that loss. I want to be careful when I'm saying this. I'm not really sure. So they say the doubt. I'm not really sure if Arsenal can come back from this blow that we had on Wednesday. It's a very, very big blow. Yeah, I don't know if the team have the mentality right now to come out of it and get that win against Chelsea on Tuesday. I will exercise caution. Personally, I would like to see Arsenal win it. Even if we win it, it might be just maybe a 1 goal win or something like that. But personally, I would
Even though-
exercise caution with this one because Arsenal have been dealt a big blow, and this blow is not just a physical one in the at the hands of Manchester City at the Etihad. It's a mental one. The mental one coming back from what happened to us at the Etihad. I think it would be a very very big one. And mind you, what are the assurances if we didn't even beat Southampton at home, the donuts of the league, and we couldn't beat these guys, at home? So, what gives you the assurance that you would even beat Chelsea, who is a little bit will be up for that fight? Come on, it's a London derby to be a big one. So, let's see what's going to happen. But I'll
Yeah.
fancy Arsenal to win 1-0. But we should be very careful with the whole hype
Yeah.
around it.
And Manny, can I have your views on this game and your score prediction as well?
Yeah, I'm actually going to sort of, in a reversal of roles, be a little bit more positive because we're talking about a Chelsea team that has lost its last five. I seriously question the wisdom of bringing Frank Lampard back into the Chelsea hot seat. Poor decision all around, which summed up everything going on at Chelsea right now, the shenanigans or whatever you want to call it. And I actually believe that this would be the sort of game for this Arsenal team to show that they have the ability to bounce back. But it will depend on Arteta and if he decides to be sensible and make some changes. Because after that performance, which is a watershed in some way, I think one good thing is that we've now learned that we can't just BS our way to success. There's a proverb which says that BS might get you to the top, it's not going to keep you there. So we now have to start taking games a lot more seriously. And when we do take games seriously, to our credit, when we have taken games seriously this season, we've more often than not won. And we will almost certainly be up for this game because it's a London derby. Of course, Chelsea will be up for this, but we need to make sure that what has happened to us at the Etihad has not affected us, and that is going to be completely on the manager and the team to make sure that they come out of this on top. And I think you know when the going gets tough, we have to get going, and I think the boys are now at least going to want to show that they still are worthy of being called a decent team. Um, and this misfortune at the Etihad shouldn't change that. So I'm going to go for a convincing 2-0 win where we will dominate but not necessarily score. But again, it's all about the result at the end. It doesn't matter how many goals you score as long as you score more than your opponent. 2-0 for me.
2-0. Yeah. Perfect. Well, with mine, I'm going to throw mine in there now. We're going to come towards the end of the show now. Do you know what? I'm going to go one up. I most probably might give Chelsea a goal, but I thought Arsenal is going to be a good game. I think Chelsea's going to give us a good game as well. So I thought, well, I think 2-1 Arsenal. Jesus to be a goal scorer, and Saka and Jesus to get our goals. I'm going to go for 2-1 Arsenal.
I like that prediction, Anthony.
I knew you would.
Do you think
Right,
it'd be good to keep a clean sheet?
well, it would be, but what's more important to us, Richard, is the 3 points. To be honest with you, so
But you stop conceding. You stop conceding goals, and you get points. I mean, Arsenal. I mean, you go back the last 5 or 6 games. There's a lot of goals they've conceded. Haven't they? 3 Southampton, 2 Liverpool, 2 West Ham, 4 Man City. So yeah, I think Arsenal. You got if they're gonna do well. I mean, this Felix is a good player on the day as well. Like so. But I think Arsenal's defence needs to be a little bit wary of Chelsea. They're having a poor season. You don't know what Chelsea's side could turn up. You know what I mean? London derby. So bragging rights and everything. So
yeah, well, it's true. It's true. I'm just going to read this
mm.
message out from Doug from Dugout Football. Evening, Doug. It says generally think that Lampard is going to lose every single game between now and the end of the season.
33 to
That's
1, that was it.
Anthony, I forgot to add this here. I find it very worrying, yeah. In our last 3, 4, 5, in our last 3 games, yeah, Arsenal have conceded lots of goals. I don't think people are really
Yeah.
understanding what's really going on, yeah. See, it's different when you're going for a title push, but see, we're conceding lots of goals. Teams like Southampton shouldn't be putting 3 goals behind our net. These
yeah.
guys are serious, legitimate battlers this season,
Well,
and they put 3 goals at home in 12 minutes,
I
brother.
know, but trouble is
A
though,
hard one to
Tim.
take. So when our defense is like this, it, see,
Yeah,
it's a pill to swallow, man. So I
you got to
can't really
blame
say.
Ramsdale. You got to blame Ramsdale for the first goal thing. And it's like what I said as well. And I know for a fact, I know Man is going to back me up on this one. Is when we play Shevchenko at left back. He drifts
Mm.
into that midfield. Our
Manny has
centre
been
back
saying that
goes
all
over to the
season.
left.
Manny has been saying that
Yeah,
all season. He's
and it's
complained
true.
about Zinchenko all season. He said it. You
Yeah,
know, Manny is
I
Exactly.
even
think
one of the people that have been talking about Ramsdale. Ramsdale hasn't been getting any stick this season most times. Manny has always been the one talking about him. This season when he has come to my show, many people might overlook it, but he's talked about it. And now it's all laid bare for all to see. So
yeah,
you know, yeah, these are the
Yeah.
things that happen. But
yeah. It
just
just
soak
it
it
just
up
breaks.
and take it as
It just disturbs the three positions: the left back, the DM, and the centre backs. You've got that routine there in the middle. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong. If that's the case, then why not play Kieran Tierney left back, and every now and then play Shevchenko in the middle alongside Party one game and alongside Saka the other game. Saka the other game. That might work. But then again, you've got Jorginho there doing the job. So if that's the case, if he likes to drift in that middle, let him put him in the middle. Rotate that middle around a bit more if you want to. And you got fresh legs playing in certain games in certain areas of the pitch as well. That's what I say. But that's just me and my opinion of it. But
it's true.
I
It's true.
mean,
It's true.
well,
Yeah, Anthony, you're absolutely right. And I want to just also say something here. What you've said about Zinchenko, what we've all agreed on, this is another reason why Guardiola will always be a better manager than Arteta, because what he did that was smart, he actually had the common sense to know when to be pragmatic and when not to be. And he knew that when he was coming up against Arsenal, he had to be more pragmatic and sensible. It wasn't too long ago, mind you, that he had criticized Kyle Walker for not being able to play the way he wanted to play and play as a part of his system. And yet, he later on realized that he couldn't just abandon Walker for certain games where it was necessary to be a lot more smarter and pragmatic against a type of opposition, and he recalled Walker to start. And Walker had the desired effect. He bullied Zinchenko, his ex-teammate, and was having a stormer in the right side of the defense, not giving Gabriel Martinelli an opportunity. Guardiola likes to do this inverted stuff, and in fact, Arteta was the one who learnt that stuff from Guardiola at Manchester City. So that's another example of how sometimes as a manager, you've got to be willing to mix up your strategy a bit. And Arteta, he wasn't able or willing to do that. And I just think it's probably down to the fact that maybe there are some players whose faces sadly will never fit with him. And regrettably, it's happened with quite a few other managers. I believe one of the reasons why Patrick Vieira was sacked at
Mm.
Crystal Palace was that he wasn't willing to let a certain players play in his team because he didn't rate them, and the lack of goals was a concern, even though they were defending a lot better. But when Roy Hodgson came back into the picture, they immediately started scoring goals, and it was no real coincidence why that was the case. So
4-4-2.
sometimes, yes, so sometimes players have to, managers have to be pragmatic. They've got to be smart about things, and they've got to be willing to accept that when the situation demands it, you've got to change your strategy. But that is something that Arteta was never willing to do, and has cost him at the most inopportune times. So the Zinchenko issue is something that will have to be looked at. I would love to see Kieran Tierney play against Chelsea, and yet sadly, I really don't know if that will happen. Which is all, and more's the pity, because he is
yeah,
absolute class. But I should expect this Arsenal team to beat a Chelsea team that's simply lacking in confidence. Or having said that, it could be
yeah,
possible that maybe they're just, coming into their stride like they did against Brentford. Of course, they conceded a couple of goals, but they were starting to look a little bit more dangerous in attack like they used to before. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got a draw. I would be horrified if we lost, but we have to be positive and try and predict a win and see how they go. But if they don't win, then this will definitely, sum up how the team has been affected by the result at the Etihad. And again, more's the pity.
Yeah.
But Manny, please, I would like to come in there. Yeah, yeah, it's good and okay if we talk about this Zichenko issue. Yeah, but the thing is, when Zichenko was in Manchester City, he had a Kyle Walker who could come into the fray and be on his bottom and just tap him up a bit, and clip him. Uh, in At Arsenal, he doesn't have that.
No.
Let's be frank, he doesn't have that. Kieran Denny is in no way or shape, at par with Kyle Walker in any way. So, same thing is also happening to Ramsdale's performances. Uh, uh, really, since Martinez left, there has been no kind of like tussle for that number one spot, at Arsenal, and it's a big problem right now. So I do think that maybe if we're looking at this, we also should look at our resources that we do have. Do we have, a second fiddle player uh, that is at par with this first number one players in our squad? Are
Mm.
they up to par? Can they offer kind of like a challenge or something to these guys? And the truth is that Arsenal doesn't have that. We don't have that, and it's a big problem. No competition for places.
No, we do have Matt Turner, who is, of course, Ramsdale's replacement, and he did play in the domestic cup games and the Europa League games. And I think whenever he did that, for the most part, he really did quite well. I think what happened in the first leg against Sporting Lisbon was a little bit unfortunate, but he certainly wasn't the worst player on the field, and he certainly proved that he was more than capable enough. And in the second leg, we all know what happened. So you're never going to know how good your bench strength is unless you try, and they're going to have to sink or swim. If they do perform well, then that's perfect. But we can't just dismiss someone like a Turner as not being good enough unless we give him a chance. And if, God forbid, Ramsdale has another poor game and concedes a few poor goals and we end up losing, then that would be the sign that, he need to have a rest because, again, no player should be undroppable. Simple as that.
Mm,
Mm.
mm.
All right, I think that's it now. Okay, so I got to go on and I got to jump on another show. Um, Basically, that's it. That's the end of the show now. I just want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank Doug who put, his comments in. Big up to you, Doug. I want to thank Tony for coming on the show. You're a gunner for more corners. You're always on the show. You're a part of the
Exactly.
show. And
Yeah.
also, I want to thank Manny for coming on. Manny, I understand where you're coming from. You always give good content, and every time I always say when you come on this show, your views is always listened to, and that sort of thing, and that's what makes a good stream as well. Also,
Appreciate that, mate. Thank you.
that's
And
okay,
Manny,
man.
it's a pleasure being on the stream with you again. Always a pleasure being with you on the stream, sir. Always,
Always,
always.
always.
Always,
Thanks,
yeah.
brother. Thank you.
And also, I want to say thank you for the Man United fan down below. My younger brother, right,
Rick,
Rich.
big ups.
Yeah,
Big up.
Good to see you, Richard.
Nice to
yeah.
see you too, mate.
Yeah, well, you got to look at it, Manny. Well, you could take your pick, but look, who the better looking brother is. Obviously, I'm not going to breeze me hand or anything, or get a big head or anything like that. But we always say that about me. And
He was the better looking one. I was the better footballer.
yeah, all right. Yeah, I used to run rings
And
round
trust
you
and
all the
trust me,
time.
he's a good Man United fan. At least he didn't rip us to shreds today. I know other Man United fans who would just, be on us throughout the night, but
Yeah,
he
Yeah.
kept it cool, was with us and
yeah.
just
All right.
just
Well, I got a
offering.
show. Yeah, I got a show coming up
Helping
Monday.
us out,
You
Big
up for
ups.
that show on Monday, Rich? The Premier League weekend show
Yeah, I'll be
on
on
Monday.
Monday night. I'll be on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Come on. I
Okay.
think
Yeah. All right then. And Tony, I'll no doubt that we'd be chatting over WhatsApp or Instagram or whatever. And the same with you, Manny. I'll definitely get you two
Yeah,
on the show again because it's good chemistry
yeah.
here, isn't it?
It's
It's good,
it's so
very good
hard to
I love
get
chemistry.
that.
money on. Manny, I've sent you lots of messages on your Instagram, but no.
Yeah, listen.
no,
Listen.
no
Tony,
response, man.
Tony. I do apologize for that. We will get back again because I've been, swamped with a lot of stuff. But we will definitely get back to doing something soon. I'll respond
Okay
to
then.
you.
All right then. And that's it, folks. So we're off now. Enjoy the rest of your enjoy the rest of your Friday, and have a nice weekend.
And you lads, nice to meet you all.
All right.
You as well.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Come on,
everyone.
you Arsenal.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.